Hi, I'm Alvina Ling,
And I'm Grace Lin.
and we're book friends.
Forever!
We're childhood friends,
Who grew up to be
a children's book editor.
and an author and illustrator. Yay!
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the Freedom to Read with Padma Venkatraman episode.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube at bookfriendsforever_podcast.
So, as you can tell from our episode title and video, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a special guest joining us, Padma Venkatraman. Welcome, Padma.
Thank you so much.
So you are, I didn't know this, you're an oceanographer, right? And
Yes,
also,
Dr. Venkatraman.
yes, and also an award-winning author of numerous books for young people, including The Bridge Home, Born Behind Bars, A Time to Dance, Island's End, and Climbing the Stairs. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more for our audience?
Sure. I am Padma Venkatraman, and one of the other things that I love to do, in addition to writing books, is teach. And I'm thinking about that particularly today because Grace and I had a lovely, lovely highlights workshop several years ago, where we taught plot together.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
You know what? I completely forgot about that.
Do you remember it now?
I do now. Now that she brings it up, I'm like, oh my gosh, we actually taught together.
Probably. It was just the two of us, and then I can't remember. There must have been some other, yeah.
It was a long time ago. Maybe we should do that again.
Yes, I would love that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we usually start off with just catching up with each other's lives, but I think we can start first. And Grace, how have you been?
How have I been? I've been okay. I mean, I think we all know the world is on fire. So it's just like trying not to despair of the whole world. And just like kind of like trying to be happy in my own little bubble as usual. I'm doing all those things, trying to be happy in my own little bubble. I had dinner with Heidi Stemple and Lisa Yee and Molly Burnham last night, and it was really fun because it was like all these war stories. Because especially me and Lisa have been in doing this for so long,
Yeah.
and we both have like I say, one of the things that I always talk about at the Asian American Voices retreat is, like when I was first starting and I showed my portfolio to an editor, and there's like, we don't I like your stuff, but we don't. I already got an Asian guy, so I don't really need you, and she's like, oh, that happened to me too, and we're like, we have like the same story, and I was like, it's the same editor, and the sad thing it was not even the same editor. Like, oh. Okay. Well, and it just, in some ways, though, it's kind of heartening because we're like, look how far we've come, like when we were both like, oh yeah. And at the time, neither of us were like even like horrified. We're like, oh, that's just the way it is. And like now we're like, wow, we've really come so far. So that was kind of nice, like to see things have changed from then. I'm also starting a new podcast. I think I mentioned this a while ago, but now it's really getting off the ground. Teacher Melissa Tom, oh, sorry, not teacher, librarian Melissa Tom in Connecticut and I are starting a podcast called The Bookish State. And we even have a website now. I mean, we haven't done, it just is like one logo right now. It's like thebookishstate.com. But we're going along pretty well. We recorded our first promo episode. So what we're doing is, because she's a librarian in Connecticut, they have the Nutmeg Award. It's a state award. And so we are going to highlight some of the Nutmeg Award nominees for 2026 by talking about them, doing having a she's going to take care of this part. The educators are going to have an educator episode where they talk about how you can share it in the classroom, and then we're gonna have a live webinar with the author of the book. So every month we'll be we'll be featuring a nutmeg nominee. So that's the bookishstate.com, and I hope people can look it up. Maybe by the time you listen to this, we'll have more up than just our logo, but that's what we're hoping. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm thinking more, like just like this podcast, I'm thinking more and more of like, what can I do to reach people and have and spread things about books other than social media? I just feel like social media has become more and more and more of just like a slog of nothing, like, so I'm just kind of like, what can I do? And I don't know if the podcast will be something, but at least it's not social media. And then I'm thinking like I've got to really revamp my newsletter, like all these things, like what can we do other than social media? So those are just the things I've been thinking about, as well as painting my book.
Yeah.
How about you, Alvina? How have you been?
I'm doing good. So we last saw each other in Connecticut. And then after you left, Libby and I actually went for a swim at the
Nice.
club that she is now a member
Oh,
of. And it was so
she's
lovely. Like we had time
she
to
loves
swim.
that club.
I know. They have a little I don't know, I guess I don't know if it's the bay, but they have kind of a private kind of cove area. I don't know, in the ocean, basically. And so it was really nice to swim in salt water, but it was, there were a few other people, but it was, we pretty much had it to ourselves and we got to swim for about 45 minutes and before I had to get on a train. And that was really a nice way to kind of, set off the weekend. And then we went out to New Jersey on Sunday to kind of celebrate my late mother-in-law Linda's birthday, actually. So my mother-in-law Penny wanted to still commemorate Linda, and so she had a brunch. So that was nice. So we went out there, and then we took our one of our nieces, or one niece who lives in New Jersey, Quinn, back with us for the week, and she has been dying to go to Coney Island all summer. Basically, at the end of last summer, after we went last time, she's just been waiting and she keeps asking us, is Coney Island open yet? Is Coney Island open yet? And we just haven't had a chance to take her. So we just decided, okay, we're going to take her on Sunday. So we went and it was so much fun. Um, it's a little hard for me at my age now. I do love roller coasters, but I just, like in my perimenopausal state, I do get, kind of vertigo. I'm actually still feel just a tiny bit not nauseated. But I think I rode 7 roller coasters with her. She is a daredevil now. She just loves them. And then after we did the Cyclone, which is one of the world's, or I don't know if it's the world's oldest, but one of the oldest roller coasters in the US, and it's very famous and iconic. And after that, I decided, okay, I think I'm done. But we and my husband doesn't ride them at all because he had a really bad bout of vertigo maybe 10 years ago. So he says, doctor's orders, I can't ride roller coasters. Um, but it is just it's such a magical place and such a happy place. And we after we had an early dinner and then she actually jumped in the ocean too because it's also a beach. So that's
Nice.
nice. Although we weren't quite prepared for that because we didn't have change of clothes or anything or a towel. But
I
she
only know about Coney Island from reading Ruth Chu books. Like they always talk
oh
about like Coney Island, and they also talk about Prospect Park, like all the things.
oh yeah,
And
all
so
good
it's
places.
like it's interesting how like all these places that I know only through children's books.
Yeah, I mean it's probably pretty accurate. I don't know. I love Coney Island. It's about a half hour train ride away from where I live, so I feel like I should go more often. But we go at least once a summer now
Nice.
with Quinn. So she's been here with us all week, and then tomorrow, actually, tomorrow night after work, we're gonna head out to New Jersey, spend the night, and then Friday we're heading off, all of us, to Vermont for a week to go to on vacation. So I've just been like getting ready to go on vacation. And
Nice.
I feel great about it. Padma, how about you? How have you been?
I just got home
Hmm.
yesterday after a
Wow.
fantastic, yeah. I mean, it's been a very tough couple of years, like I was telling Grace before we started, but this summer was just filled with some really wonderful things. My father-in-law had his 90th birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was in Europe. And yeah, so that was really so much fun. And my mother-in-law had been preparing and preparing and preparing, and we had all kinds of delays, but we just about like made it. So that was a lot of fun. And we were together there with the whole family. And then after that, my it was summer filled with all of these fantastic things. My husband's the guy who was our best man at our wedding, who is just a person with like such a heart of gold, but never seemed to find anybody, found somebody lovely, and they had a fantastic wedding. And
Oh.
Oh,
then my niece also got married in Europe. So,
oh wow.
We were just talking about how we don't have any weddings to go to, Albina.
No,
We were like, I wish we could go to a
I have to
wedding.
wait for my niece and nephews to get married, which I think
I
they're
have
pretty far
another
away.
nephew getting married in October. So this is like
Oh,
the
that's
year
so
of,
nice.
yeah, so that's a lot of fun.
That's fun.
So wait, when
Um,
did you come back from?
Last night. Oh, we got back from Brussels where I met this
Oh,
very old friend of mine. So, I caught up with all of my old
yeah,
European friends.
that's wonderful.
that's so
Are
nice.
you jet lagged?
I am.
Okay.
But yeah, I totally am. But I think this was a day that fit. And then I thought that one of the things that would force me to do, I mean, I feel like every time I keep taking my glasses off because it's so hot here.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating. And I look and I can like see I look a bit like a bat or a panda or something, like because I'm so sleepy. Um, but yeah, I felt like, it will make me feel so thrilled that I'm going to see you both, and it'll keep me from sleeping.
Hmm. For at
Yeah.
least another hour.
Couple of, yeah.
Though if you fall asleep on the podcast, we forgive you.
No one will notice. No. Well, thank you so much for being on. Grace and I saw the news about this Freedom to Read Act being passed. I think it was over a month ago now. And I said, "Oh, we should talk about it on the podcast." And Grace said, "Oh, I think Padma was involved in that." So we asked if you could be a guest, and we had to figure out our scheduling. But it's great to have you here now. So can you just start off by just telling us what is the Freedom to Read Act?
Sure. And I have to put this little thing in because Grace might have forgotten this, but at one point early on, we had like last year, we had a quick email exchange in which I feel like Grace was the one who told me about AABB.
Hmm.
Was I?
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, here it is." And she's like, I don't know if I really have like the time to do any leadership thing, but I kind of said I would be involved." And I was thinking about it, and I think I felt like I had so much going on. I didn't want to do anything that was like a big responsibility.
And
But
I guess we should say what AABE
oh,
is, just
sorry,
in
yes,
case.
authors against book bans.
Authors Against Book Bans. Yes.
And then they had asked me, but then what happened was in November, I felt like I could either be, you know, it was, I won't say which day, but it was a certain day and it was at night. And I just felt like, okay. And I thought, I didn't want to give up because I really don't like to give up until the end. So it wasn't yet over the election. And I felt very much that, if it went a certain way, then instead of sitting around and moaning, I just wanted to do something, and I felt like this would be maybe something that I would do, that I would try very hard to do something for books, and maybe through Authors Against Book Bans, sort of build a bit of a defense because obviously in oh gosh, that horrible document that my jet lag isn't letting me think of. Oh, Project 2025. On page 5, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time for them to really start talking about authors and books, and particularly, of course, targeting, BIPOC authors and authors who are LGBTQ, among other things. And so I thought to myself, maybe there was something that we could do. And I had given testimony for a bill that had been passed, or not really been passed, but written in Rhode Island. And for a couple of years, librarians had been trying to pass this bill. And it was a bill that protected libraries and librarians. And they'd asked us to give testimony, which I had very happily done. But very early on, I felt like one thing that was really missing was that we were not protecting the people behind the books, like we were protecting the books, but we needed to protect people and not. I mean, librarians are amazing, and I'm sure all of us absolutely love them and, admire and respect the work that they do. But I also felt like, authors like us are on the front lines. I mean, I had this horrible episode, which I'm sure unfortunately is not very uncommon these days, where you go in and your book is supposedly on some banned list and there are people shouting and screaming about how dare you speak. And and then other things have happened as well, which are just negative, and I don't want to go into them, but I've certainly been on those sort of the librarians here would say we're on the front lines, and I said there are many battles, and we authors are also on the front lines of other battles. So we felt like and they were just kind of shocked, like, oh my God, you got death threats? Like, what has happened? And they were very surprised by that. And I thought, look, I'm not the only one. There's several of us that's happening to. We need to protect authors. So for me, that was a big deal. And I also don't, I mean, in the past, when I was an oceanographer, I certainly have been the sole leader of things like research expeditions. But I feel it's always nicer to share kind of a leadership role with someone else, because sometimes you can, there are things that maybe you're bad at that somebody else can be good at. And Jeanette Bradley, who was an author that I really didn't know very well at all when I started, but I had seen that she had done she had started this small festival in Rhode Island called, I can't remember now. I think it was We Are All Readers, it was called. Yeah. And she'd done a great job with that. And I knew that she's lesbian. So I felt like, okay, you know what? It would be good to have somebody from the LGBTQ community and one person for the BIPOC community, which are the two that I'm being most strongly attacked. Um, and and then have us maybe share the leadership of this. And I asked her, and she said yes. And that was really a fantastic thing. And I realize now that it could have gone so badly because we really didn't know each other. It could have been a disaster, but it wasn't. And we really
Yes, I know Jeanette from Kindling Words. Actually, I think I sat next to her at a dinner, and I was asking her about this. And it hadn't been passed yet, but she was telling me a little bit
So
about the
when I told
efforts.
her, I mean, the first thing I said to her, and I told the librarians, was, look, we really need to protect authors. And when I said that, Jeanette, who is this kind of person, said, sure, you're absolutely right. We need to protect the human beings behind the books, and let's also protect booksellers and publishers and this and that. And so she really kind of expanded, or wanted to expand. At the end of the day, it didn't quite work out completely that way, but it was like, so we wanted to expand the scope of the bill. And one of the things I quickly realized is, yes, I can be a writer and maybe I can write novels, but I cannot write legal stuff. And one of the librarians, Ed Garcia, who had been very closely involved with the bill in its earlier phases, said to me, hey, shall we just add the word authors in? And I was like, well, no, because I don't think that that would cut it. And I think we need legal help. So then we approached people all over the place. And then we got, luckily for us, there were some very kind people from Authors Guild. There was a wonderful person from the Rhode Island ACLU who offered us also free help. And most of all, which I'm just, I was never before proud necessarily of my publishing house. So I don't want to come off the wrong way. I love Penguin. I've been with Nancy Paulson for, I don't know, 15 plus years and all of that. So obviously I love her and respect her, but I think regardless of what publishing house she had been with, I'd probably have been happy. But I love the fact that Penguin has been at the forefront of this battle. And Nihar, oh gosh, Malavia, I think, who is the head, has really been somebody who has put the money where the mouth is and done a lot. And so, anyway, when I was reaching out madly, one of the people I wrote to was Nancy's assistant, Sarah, and Sarah wrote back to me and she said, "Hey, you know what? I think this guy, Skip Dye, has been doing a lot with legal stuff." And so I reached out to him, and of course, he was really incredibly helpful. And Rosie Stewart, and I feel like, and Dan Novak. And I know nobody listening to this podcast may know their names, but I still want to say their names
Mhm.
because they were just so helpful. And if they hadn't done like the legal stuff, we wouldn't have known how to do that. And I had never really done any kind of grassroots organizing before. But the one thing I realized was that we need to bring in as many people as we could, um, in a very organic way. So we started it off with this like really tiny party in the backyard on the deck in our house, where we just invited a bunch of authors and whoever else we could, and we started off with a little postcard party. And so that was like maybe about 20, 25 people there. And it grew from there to being something that included, of course, the Rhode Island Library Association, which had done the earlier versions of the bill that hadn't yet passed, to teachers, organizations that we brought in and included, to everybody from, and who had all been involved in the effort. Would be brought them together in a coalition that didn't have a leader, but we wanted it to be an organic coalition that would move things forward. And we called it the Freedom to Read Coalition. It had everybody from the Rhode Island Atheists to the Council of Churches to the Council of Rabbis. And I also reached out, I do want to say, to other groups. I mean, I do, Buddhist meditation. I am a Hindu myself, and I feel those things are also important to state because religion is also under attack if it's not, the predominant or a certain kind of a certain religion, let's just say.
Mhm.
Christianity. So I do reach out to other groups and also certain other groups that I don't want to name because they were afraid to be officially associated with it, and yet they did so much. So I know certain people who were incredible, again, people I cannot name, but who were from organizations that were, just representing different BIPOC communities and diverse communities that came in and did a lot of phone calls and all of this. And I feel like I know the numbers of some of our representatives by heart now,
Mhm.
um, because
Good
we
for
call
you.
so much.
So, what exactly does the Freedom to Read Act do?
So one of the things that it does, which is kind of different from so a lot of states have been doing this and have done it before Rhode Island. So I do want to acknowledge that. And Rhode Island, in some ways, did not have certain protections for librarians that other New England states had. So in that sense, it was one of the later ones to get in. And I think it was partly because Rhode Islanders just tend to think, we're a very blue state, everything's fine here, which of course it wasn't. And one of the things we needed to educate people about was the fact that we've had a lot of books that were banned in our state of Rhode Island, which you can kind of see in those posters behind me, um, and attempts for censorship in Rhode Island as well. So, that was something that people were like, what? They didn't even quite realize, but we were certainly, of course, conscious of it. Sorry, I got a little bit um, carried away on that note. But you asked me, what did you ask me, Grace? I forgot now.
What does it cover? The
Oh,
act.
yeah. So one of the things that it does, which is new, is of course it's one of the first acts to actually provide protections for authors. It encodes the Miller Act, or the Miller Test, I should say, which is something that was recognized in a sense by the Supreme Court. It is something that I think most authors like me have a little bit of a weird connection with because it sort of talks about pornography and what is pornography and it defines it. But I wanted to make sure that the word clearly was in there and like, make it even more as much as we could, strengthen the language there and put kind of the language that has already been approved of by the Supreme Court into our state law so that in case things fall at that level, at least hopefully we will sort of have freedom of speech protected at our state level. We will be protecting authors, which is big for me. We try to put other groups as well. We certainly have teachers in there still, and of course, librarians. It wasn't, and it didn't end up being as broad as we would have liked, which is always something that we have. And one of the new things that really gives the bill teeth is that we notice that a lot of people want to have sort of a lot of the groups that think we should be banned try to sue us or sue other organizations, right? Saying these books are whatever they think they are and they shouldn't be here. And so we wanted to have powers for an author to sue or an artist, a creator, a book creator, an illustrator to be able to sue and say, no, you cannot get my book off the shelf. And, I pulled up the things so that I could have a little bit of the language, not that it's, the only thing, but, one of the things we wanted to say, for instance, is that the work taken as a whole, this is language borrowed from the Miller test, but I think even strengthened, clearly lacks serious artistic, literary, educational, political, or scientific value, et cetera, et cetera. And we said, you can't ban something just because of the gender or ethnicity or religion or blah 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 of the person who created the work,
Mhm.
obviously. So
So
What
this
happened?
act makes it harder to actually ban the books, correct? And then also protects the librarians and authors behind the book if it does get banned,
right, and it gives us and it gives us a private right of action, which is the right to sue somebody if
if
they
it does.
if they ban your book.
Okay.
So in our state.
So if somebody tries to ban one of your books, how does the act? Okay, I'm
Um,
a mom for liberty, and I'm coming in and I'm like, I want Padma's book Safe Harbor off the shelves. It's got too many otters in it.
You know what? It has actually been already taken off.
Really?
Not interestingly, in Oregon, there was a school that invited me and they wanted to have Safe Harbor be their one book, one school read. And we had been talking about when we were going to invite me and blah, and this and that. And then suddenly I got an email that basically said, hey, I'm really sorry. It did not use the word brown, but it said there are two immigrants on the cover. And right now, immigration is a trigger issue. And I'm sorry, we can't have you.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So say that happens in Rhode Island now. So what happens like but that's different because that's unfortunately that's the soft banning that we're talking about, right? Which is really, I know, really difficult to legislate. But let's say it's somebody who's like not soft banning, but like hard banning off the shelves, So how does this act
So it
Oh,
gives us something called a private right to action. And so if I can document that that has happened, then I have the right to take that person to court or that entity to court and say you cannot under this act and under this law you're violating this my rights basically
and the
or
librarian can say the same thing too. So if
so
technically
technically we can yeah we can
technically the li if I come up to the librarian and it's like, take this book off the shelves.
what
yeah.
is the process right now in Rhode Island? Do you know if someone like a citizen or a parent, say, wants to ban a book?
So
Is it?
actually, that's the other thing that our act did
Mhm.
was that, most libraries have a procedure in place, but not everyone does. And now, because of the act, every library, whether it's a public library or a school library, has to have a collections policy, um,
Yeah, that's smart.
which is, and so if someone after this act wants to come, let's say, I, I won't say anything because I've had certain moms that I called my groupies, who, kind of followed me around, was very flattering, showed up at some of my events because we had so many events and I, was talking all over the place. And please don't tell Phil Bildner, whom I love so much and is no, he knows. That I did a lot of things just, even free of charge, which I normally never do because even if it was like three people or four people, because I really wanted to make sure people understood. Um, and Nancy knows that I haven't done a spot of work on my last novel because I was almost, every day doing something for this act. But yeah, so now if you want to ban it, you would have to come and have, among other things, an honest good faith conversation about book banning. And this
Yeah.
is something that I tried to say again and again. I said, listen, I am a parent. I have had books. For me, violence is an issue. I'm not, and so there are certain books that I felt were maybe had a little more violence than I would have liked my daughter to have when she was a certain age. So I told her, and I would say, like, maybe we can read it a little bit later or not, or here it is. This is the reason that I think it's maybe not the best thing. And I think we have that right as parents. And I know, I mean, I do know a couple of authors who think differently, but I think that as a parent, I have a right to decide what is on the shelves in my home. I have absolutely no right to decide what's on the shelves of any library or any school or my neighbor's house.
Right.
And my neighbor being one of those people who decided that I had must have written pornography if my book was banned. Anyway.
Um, so you got involved, in maybe in November, and it seemed like it was already in progress that these librarians were trying to pass maybe a similarly worded bill. How long
It was
did the
not,
whole,
yeah, it was much thinner bill. It was
okay,
a much more focused bill. It was only about protecting
librarians? Okay. So when you get so started, and then it was passed was it in May or June?
technically it was just signed into law, I think in July, and then they had
Okay.
another big signing ceremony next week, even though now it's law.
Okay. That's great. I mean, so like about 6 months, it seems, 6 or 7 months.
Yeah, I guess it felt like so long, but I guess
Yeah.
right.
What
But
were the biggest challenges to getting it passed?
the biggest challenge was that in Rhode Island, everybody is a Democrat. Oh, well, not everybody. There are a few librarians who, oh, no, sorry, few librarians. There are a few representatives and senators who are, Republican. And unfortunately, this was an issue that was split along partisan lines. And in the beginning, it was a bipartisan bill because we had at least one Republican legislator who was in support, and ultimately that person was dissuaded from joining us. So what we ended up finding out was that Democratic senators uh, in our state, sometimes if they came from conservative places or they didn't really understand things, would tell us that they were not in support. So one of the things we were very excited, we excitedly put together, thinking that this was going to be, actually, it might have been before November that we started this because we really wanted to, yes, it was. So we went through and we did the most insane project, but it was very useful. We went through every school committee and every like local election that would be on the ballot in November and said how they would vote. We asked them about book banning. So we actually created a spreadsheet on which anybody in the state of Rhode Island could look up a legislator and see where they stood on this one issue.
Mm,
And it was so much work. But by then we knew where people stood generally. And then we kind of did the same thing with the legislators. We started to realize who stood where and why. And we talked to several people one on one, or we tried to get if somebody from there, because usually what happens is if anyone's listening and wanting to do this, what we discovered is that a legislator will be happy to talk to you, sure, but they really want to know from their constituents. So if you have the power to vote for them and
mhm,
you want this bill or you don't want it, you have a lot of sway,
mhm,
which I may not if I'm outside of their tiny constituency.
mhm,
So we did that. I mean, we talked to a lot of people.
mhm.
We also did, yeah. And so I think it was convincing people because people will say, "Oh yeah, of course I'm for freedom of speech." And then they'll say things like, "But do you know that authors are writing really inappropriate things?"
Yeah.
And it's
So it's a lot of education.
it's a lot of education. And I
Mhm.
think I can be really passionate sometimes. But I think I learned maybe a little bit more patience and
Yeah. What what would you say fueled you along the way? Like what gave you hope that this was going to happen?
I can't say that I had a lot of hope. I can't say that I had a lot of determination, and it was really nice to have Jeanette with me because I think one of the I felt I mean felt disheartened quite often, but luckily what happens if there are two people is that often you feel disheartened and then that person's on the up and then that person feels disheartened and then you're the one giving the pep talk. So that kind of worked well. And also, I mean, we are talking earlier about social media. It has just been something that I really don't like. I guess the dopamine centers in my brain are certainly not triggered by social media. And it's been really a challenge to keep that going. But this felt like it was something so different. But all the stuff that I don't like to do, which is, go through my incredibly like Himalayan mailbox inbox because I lost the person who was not lost. That person moved on to bigger and better things. But the person who was, going through all my mail and everything, I feel like those are the things that I don't do very well. But Jeanette was really good at those. So she was really good at communicating online. She was really good at all of those kinds of things, which we did a lot of. And I feel like I'm really good when I speak to people. And I have no, well, I probably get a little tense. Everybody does when we speak to a large group or even something like this, you want to be saying the right thing and all of that. But I'm much more comfortable with it. So I did a lot of those kind of face-to-face
Hmm.
talks.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was a great
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
teamwork.
great.
And when I keep talking about us, but I also want to make sure that I also mention that there were so many other amazing authors who helped us. So Bob, Robert, W. Alley, I think, the
Oh,
guy who did the
Paddington Bear
yes,
illustrator. Yes.
yes,
The
and
new Paddington Bear illustrator.
so he gave us at one point we decided like we did everything we asked everybody for all their ideas and usually people are really happy to toss ideas your way and then they run away so we had a whole lot of ideas but we really carried a lot of them through but we made a little zine that we then like gave to legislators and in that Bob had created this lovely sort of graphic for us that was really funny and sweet. And so we had illustrators who gave their work to us for free, helped us design posters, and all of those talents came in. Alex Grodin is one of the authors who also, helped us and created like our T-shirts. And one of the people that we talked to who was very, very helpful, we talked to a lot of people who were really helpful and done grassroots work, said it's important that you have to brand stuff. Like I don't like that word very much, but anyway, um, and that was also done by sort of authors who gave their time freely. And so there were just, I feel like I'll never be able to mention them. And I already mentioned two, so I should just stop there. But there were so many other people who gave
Yeah.
little bits of time, and that's what we said. We're like, if there's one thing you can do, like if it's only one talk in your backyard, or it's
Hmm.
just calling, whatever you feel comfortable. We made a ton of postcards. I think we ended up writing more than five. We ended up mailing more than 5,000 postcards. And when the final day, when the bill was supposed to pass one of the people who was very opposed, I'm pretty sure he was Republican, stood up and he was like, blah, 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 because you can object even at that point. He was very thing. And he said, but you know what? He said, just go ahead and pass this bill and then we won't get any postcards and we will just stop those annoying. And I was like,
You're like, yay.
exactly.
We made a
Sometimes it can
difference.
be annoying. Yeah.
Aw. So what advice would you give to people in other states who want to get a similar law passed?
Be annoying. Uh, get expert help because otherwise, you don't know what you're writing into the law. And then please try to get as much support as you can from as many communities as you can. And I mean, some of the groups we reached out to were youth organizations. And when you have young people talking about the books that they love, I think it's much more powerful than anything any of us can say. And of course, they're the ones who are going to be the most affected
Hmm.
by book bans. So ultimately, that's this work which we're doing is for them.
That's great. Okay, and if listeners could do just one thing to fight book bans, what would you suggest they do?
I would say do whatever you feel comfortable with. One of the most important things, though, I think, is to figure out who is on your local board. So you have a lot of impact on your school committee and your town council elections. Your vote, just as a percentage wise, always carries so much more weight there. Please do your research before you vote
Hmm.
for people and just don't just vote for them blindly. Please find out where they stand on, banning and any other issue that means a lot to you.
Hmm.
And beyond that, I would say whatever it is that you want to do. Obviously buying banned books is a great thing to do.
Hmm.
Hopefully whoever's listening to this podcast thinks of giving banned books as gifts.
Yeah, that's great.
Simple things like that. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, what are you working on now? And we would love for you to tell us about one of your books.
So I'm doing a whole lot of things. One of the things that I actually am working on now is a prequel to The Bridge Home.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh.
yeah, so that's it has been under contract with Nancy Paulson for a while, and she was very sweet. We sat on the porch recently of our house, and she said, "Have it to me by January." So that's what I have to do by January, and I should really start doing something to promote my latest book, Safe Harbor, which came out in January. And I have two picture books coming out next year, so I'm really excited about that.
Yay.
Tell our listeners about Safe Harbor. Give us a elevator pitch or something like that.
Sure. So Safe Harbor is one of the first books I think that like actually brings my oceanography in a very direct way into my writing. And it's about two kids who find a seal that is injured on a beach in Rhode Island and they rescue it. I mean, that's one of the many themes. There's lots of themes
Oh,
and all of that. But yeah. And it's a novel in verse.
I'm sorry, I
wonderful.
called your seal an otter. I meant seal.
Camel.
Great. Well, thank you. That was really, really helpful and really interesting. So thank you for sharing that. And now we'll move on to our fortune cookie segment. Because we're in the dead of summer, it's so hot and humid. We're eating lots of ice cream. We just thought we'd just talk about what our favorite ice cream flavors are. Grace, what are yours?
All right, so my favorite ice cream flavors used to be like peppermint stick or mint chocolate chip, and I still really enjoy that. But what I'm really into these days is like the chocolate shell. So like I really like
Oh,
soft the like this t soft twist and then dipped like the chocolate dip, and then even at home like I like to have like magic shell on it. Like I'm really into this like chocolate shell now. So right now my favorite is like the soft serve twist with the chocolate dip.
yum. Okay, I want some right now. Padma, how about you?
No, I love the magic shell too, but I have like two really different likes. Like I really like salted caramel and hazelnut and those kinds of things and pistachio, but I also love like fruity like sorbets, which I don't know if they qualify as ice cream, but I love them. Like and I don't know,
Well, what
like
about fruity ice creams? Like strawberry ice cream?
Do you like sherbet?
Not as much.
Yeah, I don't like
no,
sherbet that much
if
either.
it's ice cream, I think it has to be like the salted caramel.
Mm.
So what sorbet do you like best?
Oh, I just had one, which was, I don't know how you say it actually, whether it's lychee or lychee, but
Oh, lychee.
yeah, we used to say lychee in India and
I
some
think people say pronounce it both
it's
ways.
lychee. And I was like,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
whatever.
We always
Yeah.
said lychee at home.
We said it in India too. Anyway, but that I had a sorbet. It was so good. And you could like just taste the fact that it was like real fruit in the, oh, it was so good.
Yum. I mean, I love the fruit ice cream. So I don't love sorbet as much, although of course it's delicious and I will eat it. But if I could choose, I always would pick a fruit ice cream. So strawberry ice cream. I love there's a specific Haagen-Dazs pineapple coconut ice cream that is
Mm.
really it tastes like a pina colada, which is lovely. If I could ever find a blueberry ice cream, which is kind of rare, I will order it. I love peach ice cream, to any kind of fruit.
Do you have an ice
Um,
cream maker?
no.
Oh, you should get one and make it's really fun.
Right, make my own blueberry ice cream. That would be
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Especially
Yeah.
now, blueberries are so ripe and
Yeah.
delicious now.
And
And
we had, you'd love this. My daughter had this peach ice cream in one place, and they had like scooped out a real peach. So
oh,
it came in the peach.
oh
So
my
it's like,
gosh, that sounds amazing. And if I mean I love all ice cream. I mean ice cream is one of my I mean it's one of my favorite foods, but if I'm not eating a fruit ice cream, I think my favorite flavor would be cookies and cream.
Hmm.
Just oh, but I have to mention, I have to give a shout out to Maple Creamies, which is the soft serve in Vermont that's maple syrup flavored, and I had never had, before until I spent some time in Vermont in the summer. So I'm excited because that's actually where I'm going on vacation on
Nice.
Friday. We're going to Vermont for about a week, and I'm gonna try to have a maple creamy almost every day.
Yay.
All right. So now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. Uh, Grace, what are you grateful for?
Okay. Let's see. What am I grateful for? I think I have to be grateful for the small bubble that I have here at home. Like, there's just, like I said in the beginning, like there's just so many horrible things going on in the world. Um, and it's so easy to give in to despair, but then at the same time, I have to be so grateful. Like, I'm safe. I have enough to eat. My family has enough to eat. My family's safe. We live in a safe home, and I just have to feel really, really grateful for those things. So that is what I am grateful for. How about you, Alvina?
Well, I guess I'm grateful for that as well, but my grateful was a little more silly. But since we're talking about ice cream, I have to say I'm grateful for this local Ample Hills ice cream shop that's about, it's like a 5 minute walk away. And we've been going not every night, but but often. And they have really creative flavors there. So they have flavors that have, I don't know, they have chewy gooey or ooey gooey cake flavor. They have some fruit, but that's not their specialty. They have mostly, flavors with cereal, breakfast cereal. It's just creative and delicious.
That gives,
So,
oh, so I have a shallow grateful too now that you bring that up because as part of this small joys and enjoying thing, like Alex and I have been going to the local cafe called the Familiars, and I've been getting like they have all these different kind of lattes, and I have no idea what like they always have these creative names, and so the other day there was one like called like blue something. I was like, I don't know what that is. And I got it and it was so beautiful. It was like this blue drink. And then
aw.
yesterday I got like a golden, which was turmeric, but it was like this golden one. I'm like, I wonder if they have the whole rainbow,
Ooh,
you
what
know?
was the
So
blue one? Was it?
the blue was well, they told me it's I don't the name of it, I don't remember, but it's blue pea flower is
Oh,
the
okay.
blue
Ah,
pea flower powder is
So
what
not
makes
blueberry.
no, not blueberry. It was so, but so yes, so I'm grateful for restaurants and places that have lots of different, like unusual flavors.
Yay. Padma, how about you? What are you grateful for?
everything that's been happening this year and even recently, I feel like my serious grateful is just I'm just really, really grateful for my husband and my daughter, and especially that we have a family that is kind. When you're with family, there was somebody who was just so it was lots of sort of unprovoked rudeness and cruelty,
Hmm.
which is also part of my family, who, some parts of it can be very warm and lovely, but some of them can be really cruel. And I just thought how lucky I am that at least with the three of us, there's a lot of just laughter, which is good, and not laughter, which is mean and all of that. So I think I'm really, really grateful for that, especially because my daughter's a teenager now, and it still continues. So I'm very glad, and I hope that will always be that way. And I think I don't even have a flippant grateful because I think I'm so jet lagged. The only other thing that I can think of that I'm really grateful for is that even though we passed this bill and everything, and I and had put so much effort into it, there's a little group of us that came together to decide that we'll just sort of at least kind of keep meeting and have a small group that makes sure that it's not the end, that the bill, because not everybody still knows that it exists. And like you were saying, Grace, what do I do if I want to object to a book ban, that kind of thing. So we want to make sure that people, Rhode Islanders, continue to be engaged and educated and remain with this. And I'm just very grateful that everybody didn't like give up on us and be like, oh my God, we're done with this, go away. But there are enough people who want to continue to do that.
Yeah, and I think that small group is great. You guys could be like mentors to other states,
Yeah.
like I think that's really important because you were so successful. And I think like I know Massachusetts, we're starting to that whole thing now too. We just friends of mine just gave testimony the other like
Yeah.
last couple weeks ago, like so we're starting that whole thing now. So like it'd be great. You guys would be really good mentors to the
I actually started
movement.
writing an article too, so I'm hoping I'm good at writing first drafts, and then I hate following up, but Jeanette is good at that. So I feel like I'd write the draft, send it on to her, and hopefully, in school, I don't know, SLJ or someone will take it and
Yeah,
publish it so that we
that
can
sounds great.
Yeah,
can,
that sounds great. Or the horn book maybe, well,
yeah,
maybe.
maybe the horn book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Publishers Weekly. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure who has
Yeah.
the biggest
No, I feel like the article I wrote for the Hornbook was the hardest ever because I think Roger sent it back to me like more times than even Nancy has ever sent me back. I hope you're not listening, but
okay, Roger's retired.
I know.
Yes, he is retired.
No, I feel like that is a bit scary. Like, really? Do I write that badly?
All right. So that was the Freedom to Read with Padma Venkatraman episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Alex at Paceywork Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
And tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever, or send us a message via Instagram at bookfriendsforever_podcast, or via our website, bookfriendsforever.com. And please join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes.
I'm Alvina Ling, and you can find me at Planet Alvina on TikTok and at Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. Padma, where can people find you?
You can find me, probably the easiest one is my website, which is padmavenkatraman.com, all one word, but you have to spell it correctly. It's M-A-N, man, so it's like Padma Venkatraman. Saying that, even though that's not how we pronounce it. And then you can find me at venkatraman.padma on Instagram, which is probably my most active profile.
Yay! Where were we?
And you're going to share your social media.
Oh, yes, I'm sharing my social now. Sorry.
Oh, you know what? I want to quickly say, I just started a Blue Sky, so please find me there. It's at Padma TV. So you see, that's even shorter.
Yay!
Nice.
Okay, yes, and people can find me. I'm Grace Lin, and you can find me at Pacey Lin on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lin on Facebook, and Grace Lin author on TikTok.
Have a great week.
And don't forget to read. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Mo.